Have you ever noticed those subtle whispers in your digital life? The small unread opt-ins, smart apps humming quietly? Those updates you just click through without really thinking? What if I told you that in those quiet, almost invisible moments, you were making a kind of profound trade, an unseen exchange of your data privacy in this, well, burgeoning age of AI?
It's absolutely true. I mean, in this increasingly invisible system, your data isn't just information anymore. It's become a really potent form of currency.
Yeah.
And your privacy, that's basically the collateral in a bargain you likely never explicitly agreed to. There's no receipt, right? No
Yeah.
handshake, no clear way for you to track who owns what piece of your digital self. Your entire footprint, really, from a casual search to a voice command, it's quietly set into systems that evolve much faster than we can keep up with.
And what we stand to lose isn't just, personal details. It's more fundamental. It's the power to refuse, the right to disappear from some digital record, the control over our own digital identity that we never really intended to surrender.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, our mission is to peel back the layers of this unspoken architecture. We're here to uncover how AI gets smarter by, well, watching us more closely, to illuminate the hidden costs of this constant data flow. And most importantly, maybe, to explore the concrete steps you can actually take to reclaim some of that vital control. We're going to help you understand the system that profits from pretty much every trace you leave behind.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about AI training, I think many of us might picture, data scientists in labs carefully curating data sets, white coats, maybe.
Right, the classic image.
But here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a bit unsettling. Modern AI systems, especially the big ones, the large language models, recommendation engines, they're increasingly built on what's called behavioral data. That's your data, your actions, often gathered without you explicitly knowing it's for that purpose. How exactly do our everyday movements become so foundational for AI? Well, it's astonishingly pervasive, really. Think about it. Every day, you're inadvertently contributing to AI training. Upload a resume to a job site. Okay, that might fine-tune hiring models on what qualified looks like based on your phrasing, maybe even your font choice, believe it or not.
Wow, font choice.
It can be that granular. Chat near a smart speaker. Your voice inflection, your speech patterns, they could be used to enhance voice recognition systems globally. Even something as simple as how often you turn on a smart light, maybe, or the rhythm of your typing. It can all be repurposed, reused, fed back into systems designed to predict or even mimic human behavior. These aren't just isolated data points, they're like constant streams that AI learns from.
It's the insidious invisibility of it all that really stands out, I think. You never actually see the training set your data is woven into. You certainly never meet the engineers building it. And you almost never get a genuine chance to say a clear no. Even seemingly harmless apps like you mentioned, a weather forecast, a quick quiz game, maybe a meditation timer, they can quietly funnel sensitive information into these vast data pipelines. It feels almost like our digital exhaust is just perpetually being recycled and repackaged for purposes we never agreed to.
That's a good way to put it. The truth is, you don't need to be an active user of a specific AI system to be a data source for it. You already are one, just by existing in the digital world today.
So, okay, we've explored the unseen mechanisms, this quiet data extraction. But what does this mean for you, the individual listening right now? The abstract idea of data as currency snaps into chilling focus when we look at the real stories emerging, stories where our digital echoes are being actively reconstructed. These aren't hypotheticals anymore, are they? These stories are the signals.
No, they're very real, and we've seen some truly chilling examples. Take the Canadian university student who discovered her personal photos she'd posted years ago on a news blog. They'd been scraped without her consent, used to train facial recognition models. Her likeness was embedded in datasets sold globally, used in systems she'd never even heard of, let alone interacted with. There was just no way for her to opt out after the fact.
It's horrifying.
It is. Or consider the growing number of job applicants whose resumes were unknowingly scraped and processed by hiring algorithms. These algorithms were ranking candidates on really biased indicators, sometimes things labeled leadership tone or even masculine coded language. It's not just about the content of the resume, it's these subtle, often biased pattern recognitions.
Right. It's like the very shape of a sentence or particular word choice becomes a filter for human potential rather than the substance of what's actually being said. That's a significant shift.
Precisely. And perhaps one of the most stark cases involved a woman whose old social media image, one she had deleted years ago, was effectively reassembled by an AI system. This model, trained on scraped web content, sort of imagined her likeness into a deepfake-style composite image that then circulated online. What was supposed to be gone, deleted, was now being remixed for public consumption without her permission. She was, as the source put it, quite literally reconstructed without consent.
Reconstructed without consent. That phrase really sticks with you.
It does, and another powerful example, a London-based designer. She started noticing elements of her unique art portfolio appearing in AI-generated visuals. She'd never uploaded her work to any training platform, never agreed to it. A forensic review eventually revealed her images had been indexed from an archived, now closed online forum from years back. So the AI didn't steal her identity all at once, you see. It reconstructed it piece by piece from these residual digital traces left behind.
Wow. That brings us to this double bind you hear about. You're often told your data is safe because, oh, it's anonymized. But AI doesn't actually need your name to know it's you. It connects the dots. These aren't just edge cases. They're demonstrating a pattern, aren't they? Even when names are stripped or faces blurred, the metadata remains. Location tags, timestamps, device info. When layered together, these fragments form a kind of digital fingerprint that AI can often match. You mentioned anonymization being a bit of a myth. How does AI manage to reverse engineer our identities from these supposedly safe data points?
Yeah, that's a critical point. Anonymization is frankly more of a wish than a robust safeguard against sophisticated AI. Given enough different data points, maybe a resume here, a voice recording there, a gait pattern from a security camera, even just your typing rhythm on a website, AI can employ what are called re-identification algorithms. These algorithms are designed to cross-reference seemingly disparate data sets. They link these supposedly anonymized fragments back to individuals.
So pieces the puzzle together from different places.
Exactly. Take facial recognition again. A selfie you upload to a fun filter app, maybe one that makes you look older or like a cartoon character. That image, your biometric data, can be repurposed for training commercial AI systems, maybe even surveillance models. And your biometric information, unlike a password, it doesn't expire. You can't change your face easily. Once collected, it becomes data that can potentially be reused forever precisely because AI can piece it back to you, even if the initial collection point seemed anonymous.
Okay, so that's unsettling enough with existing data. But what about generative AI? This feels like a whole new layer. It's often framed as this amazing, almost magical tool, but you're saying it introduces entirely new vulnerabilities.
It absolutely does. Every single prompt you enter into many generative AI systems, it instantly becomes part of a much larger behavioral map, especially on platforms that don't prioritize prompt privacy. That innocent request for a story or an image or some code, it's often stored, it's indexed, and it could potentially be resurfaced later, maybe in someone else's results, maybe through an error.
And what if that prompt wasn't so innocent? What if it included sensitive internal company documents, or a proprietary algorithm someone was testing, or just highly personal private information?
Well, that's where the risk escalates dramatically. And this isn't just theoretical anymore. We're seeing prompt injection becoming a real issue. That's where people craft specific inputs, tricky prompts to try and trick AI systems into revealing data from past interactions. Sometimes this can even lead to leaking credentials or sensitive outputs that were never meant to be shared.
Right. I think I saw something about this recently. Wasn't there a tweet that went viral, something like, did AI just leak a company's source code?
Yes, exactly that case. It was quite alarming. A user discovered fragments of what looked very much like proprietary software code embedded in a response generated by an AI. And importantly, this code wasn't from their input. The system seemed to retrieve it from some kind of residual memory within the AI model itself, left over from someone else's interaction, presumably.
Wow. That really shows the data trap, doesn't it? Every interaction that feels private, just you and the machine,
Yeah.
it's potentially public inside the AI's architecture somewhere?
It underscores a critical point. Unless AI models are explicitly designed from the ground up with privacy safeguards, they are generally not trained to protect patterns of data. They're trained to recognize and replicate them. And they often recall without consent. This reality, it raises agent concerns. We need better AI governance, stronger privacy protections built in, not bolted on later. We need new architectures, really, that ensure what goes into AI doesn't come back out in unintended, potentially harmful ways.
These stories paint a really disturbing picture of re-identification, data leakage. But what happens when the AI's core function, its prediction, is just catastrophically wrong? And worse, when there's no voice, no clear path for you to challenge it. Our sources highlighted a particularly stark story from BBC News back in 2024. A school teacher in the UK was wrongly flagged as a potential pedophile by an AI tool used by authorities. There was apparently no human review initially, no actual evidence presented, just a prediction from the algorithm based on flawed data inputs. And this label, this AI's judgment, it nearly destroyed his life, shattered his reputation, caused immense mental health struggles. How can something like this even happen? And why is there seemingly no recourse?
Well, first, it's devastating. And it wasn't a malfunction in the, let's say, the traditional software bug sense. It was more a devastating reflection of the dangers of blindly trusting flawed AI algorithms, especially for high-stakes decisions. See, AI doesn't understand truth in the human sense, not really. It understands probability. It makes predictions based on patterns it finds in its training data, often vast amounts of data, but data that can be messy, biased, or incomplete without real-world context or common sense. And when those probabilities, those statistical correlations, are treated as definitive facts by organizations, the consequences multiply dramatically. It really reveals a fundamental disconnect between how AI operates pattern matching at scale and how we need critical, life-altering decisions to be made with nuance and accountability.
And the challenge deepens when you think that these very systems, built on our collective digital reflections, can inherit and even amplify existing societal biases present in that data.
Right, absolutely. If the training data reflects historical injustice, the AI will likely learn and perpetuate it.
Which leads to situations where labeling errors just hard-code false narratives. What about AI hallucinations? We hear about those a lot. These confidently stated but completely false outputs. They can accuse, implicate, misinform at scale. And these systems, they just don't extend themselves, do they? There's no show your work. And even worse, as with that poor teacher, there's often no clear, accessible path to challenge their decisions or even understand why they reached a particular conclusion about you. It's just a black box.
That's precisely the insidious hidden cost of black box AI. You get profound reputational damage, the erosion of individual privacy, and this stark absence of accountability. You know, it's easy to laugh sometimes when AI mislabels a cat photo as a dog, or dog as a muffin, like in those funny examples. But when it mislabels a person as a criminal or a security risk or unfit for a job, it instantly reveals the profound dangers of unchecked AI development. It's not funny at all, then.
It really isn't. Which brings us to consent. That phrase, "I agreed to the terms," has become one of the most misleading statements in digital life, as one source put it, because we rarely know what those terms truly mean in practice, or how they'll apply to AI's evolving capabilities down the line. Consent in these AI systems often feels like it's engineered out of sight, hidden in vague language, buried in settings, pre-checked boxes. What looks like a choice is frequently just a funnel, subtly guiding us to share more.
It almost makes you feel like the internet is constantly trying to outsmart you, doesn't it?
It can certainly feel that way.
And given how pervasive these dark UX patterns are, those subtle design tricks nudging users into sharing more data or making privacy-unfriendly choices, makes me wonder if truly informed consent online is becoming almost an oxymoron at this point. It's a significant challenge, no doubt. This illusion of privacy, or maybe just the complexity of it all, fosters a false sense of safety for many people. Meanwhile, our data is being used for unknown purposes, often at an industrial scale, and even consciously declining tracking cookies, for instance, might not prevent data collection that ends up training AI models through other means.
So what about the law? Are governments keeping up?
Well, governments are certainly responding, but slowly. The GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation in Europe, is still seen as the global benchmark for data privacy. But it was created before this current wave of generative AI really hit the public consciousness, so it has gaps. In the US, the CCPA in California mirrors some of GDPR's mandates, giving consumers rights over their data, but it specifically lacks clauses addressing responsible AI standards in the same way. More recently, the EU AI Act is trying to tackle this head-on. It introduces a new regulatory framework, classifying AI systems by risk level, which is definitely a step in the right direction. High-risk systems will face stricter rules.
Okay, these legislative efforts matter, clearly. But they feel, as one source said, outpaced by the systems they regulate. AI tools can be developed and deployed globally in weeks or months. Regulations take years to debate, pass, and implement. That gap between the tech's capability and the law's reach seems to be widening dramatically.
It is widening, and enforcement is another massive issue. Companies can often hide behind minimal compliance, complex corporate structures, or route data processing through regions with weaker laws to avoid scrutiny. Accountability gets blurred.
From your perspective, is there any country or region that's actually getting it right, or at least showing a truly promising path forward, even if it's still early days?
That's a great question, and honestly, it highlights the global challenge. While some regions, like the EU, are definitely more proactive with their comprehensive risk-based approach, a truly holistic and future-proof model that perfectly balances innovation and protection is still emerging everywhere. No one has definitively solved it yet. And for users, for individuals, asserting your rights under existing laws often remains a bureaucratic burden. Requesting access to your own data, for example, might yield an unreadable spreadsheet after weeks of waiting, or maybe just a polite refusal based on some exemption. It's not user-friendly. And fundamentally, these laws weren't really built for dynamic, adaptive AI models that continuously learn from and process personal data in complex ways. We're essentially applying static rules designed for databases to these constantly evolving adaptive systems. So this raises the pivotal question. When the law is lagging and current protections feel insufficient, what can you actually do? Well, one answer is you stop waiting solely for top-down regulation to catch up. You take control using tools and technologies that exist now. Technologies built specifically to put users and their privacy first, not the systems harvesting the data. And this is exactly where the emerging field of confidential computing and solutions built on it becomes so incredibly critical.
Okay, so this is where something like iExec confidential AI comes into the picture. You're saying it's a leading example of this privacy-first architecture, one that's built to protect privacy by default, not by patch. Designed to fundamentally re-engineer trust in our digital interactions. How does it actually work?
Exactly. So iExec confidential AI functions as a privacy-preserving AI execution framework. What that means is it allows developers, or anyone really, to run AI models on sensitive data without ever exposing the raw data itself. This is primarily powered by something called Trusted Execution Environments, or TEEs. Think of TEEs like a secure, isolated vault or bubble directly within your computer's hardware, usually the CPU.
Okay, a hardware vault.
Yes, they isolate the AI processes inside these hardware-secured enclaves,
Yeah.
protecting your data while it's being computed on. This eliminates that traditional vulnerability where encrypted data needs to be decrypted into memory, into a potentially visible space, just before the AI can process it. With TEEs, that moment of exposure just disappears. The computation happens entirely within the protected enclave, and importantly, it's also fully compatible with technologies like Intel TDX, which is Intel's latest implementation of TEEs. This makes it easier for developers to integrate into modern systems without sacrificing performance.
So just to make sure I'm getting this right, this means your data, maybe your sensitive prompts or personal information, can be used by an AI model without ever being actually seen by anyone. Not the developers running the service, not the cloud provider, not even the AI model itself in its raw, readable form.
That's the core idea. Your prompt inputs can remain entirely confidential. There's no risk of unintended learning from your specific data being absorbed into the model's training set, and your interactions aren't shared or logged without your explicit control and knowledge. It's designed to be verifiable computation within a cryptographic vault.
Verifiable. How so?
That's another crucial part. Every computation that happens inside a TE can be made auditable. It can produce cryptographic proofs, technical attestations confirming that the models were run securely, as intended, and that the outputs were generated without tampering or data leakage. That brings a level of transparency and accountability that's often missing in current AI systems.
Okay, let's connect this back. Remember that teacher we discussed? Falsely accused by an AI system based on flawed data or process.
Yes, a terrible situation.
How could confidential AI help there? Is it designed to prevent exactly that kind of harm?
Well, it's designed to provide the technical foundation to mitigate those risks significantly. By running high-risk AI models, like those used in screening or assessment, inside secure TEs, you get full audit trails, you get proof the process ran correctly, and critically, you prevent data leakage or contamination during processing. This technology gives users, auditors, and developers the ability to challenge results, verify the process, and protect sensitive inputs before the damage occurs. It's really about shifting from purely reactive damage control after something goes wrong to building in proactive prevention and verification from the start.
That sounds like a fundamental shift.
It is. Ultimately, this kind of technology represents power being shifted back towards the people whose data the AI learns from or makes decisions about.
And you're saying confidential AI isn't just a theoretical concept, it's actually being used now, redefining how sensitive tasks get done privately, verifiably, and more on the user's terms.
Absolutely. The practical applications are emerging right now, and they're quite compelling. Consider the image description matcher use case. This allows users, maybe artists or content owners, to verify whether a specific AI-generated image might have been built using scraped or copyrighted content from a particular source. It brings much-needed accountability to generative art, helping protect creators whose work might have been used without permission in training data.
Okay, that's interesting. What else?
Then there's private AI image generation itself, enabling the secure generation of not just cool pictures, but potentially sensitive business concepts, new product designs, intellectual property. Using private prompts within a T ensures your creative brainstorming or proprietary ideas don't become a liability by being exposed to or absorbed by public AI models. And this approach, it extends beyond visuals, protecting business plans, sensitive R&D, confidential strategy sessions that might utilize AI assistance.
Makes
And finally, a really exciting area is confidential AI agents. Think of tools powered by something like iExec's Eliza OS. This represents a new generation of AI assistants or tools that are secure by default. These agents can run locally or at the edge within confidential environments, ensuring that the outputs, the insights, the results, they're yours and yours alone. No central server silently logging every interaction for future training. No data leaks back to the provider.
And this Eliza OS, as featured in the iExec X platform, is already helping developers build these kinds of privacy-preserving agents, putting computation back in user hands without sacrificing the utility of AI.
That's the goal. In a digital economy that has largely been built on relentless data extraction, these use cases offer something genuinely rare. Tools that leverage AI's power without treating you, the user, like the raw training material.
Okay, so for listeners wanting to take action, what can they do? It feels overwhelming sometimes.
It can feel overwhelming, but the approach to data privacy really must be proactive. You can't just wait for laws or companies to fix everything. Here are 3 clear, actionable steps you can take today to reduce your AI privacy risks and, frankly, enhance your own privacy hygiene. First, identify the apps that are mining your data unnecessarily. Do an audit of your devices, your phone, your computer. Check app permissions diligently. Does your flashlight app really need access to your microphone or contacts? Probably not. If an app uses AI features or just collects personal information way beyond its obvious purpose, consider deleting it. These are often clear signs of privacy overreach.
Right, the permission audit. That's a good practical step. What's next?
Second, start asking how your AI tools were trained. Before you heavily rely on a new chatbot or an AI assistant or some AI feature in software, try to find out, what data is this thing collecting from my interactions? Was the underlying model trained on data scraped from the public internet, potentially including personal stuff? Can my prompts leak? If a company can't or won't clearly explain their AI practices and how they handle your data, they arguably haven't earned your trust, especially for sensitive use cases. This step is really essential to avoid unforeseen data breaches or your data contributing to unchecked AI usage down the line.
Demand transparency, basically. Ask the hard questions. Okay, and the third step.
And third, where possible and appropriate, use confidential AI technologies to protect your most sensitive interactions. Whether you're a developer building something new or an individual generating content, querying models with private information, or prototyping applications, technologies like iExec Confidential AI offer a way to ensure your data can be processed securely within those TEs we talked about. This means, again, your prompt inputs can remain entirely confidential. There should be no unintended learning from your specific data being absorbed into the model. And your interactions aren't shared without your explicit control. It's about choosing tools that have robust data protection built into their very core, not just promised in a privacy policy.
So audit your apps, demand transparency from AI providers, and leverage privacy-preserving tech like confidential AI where you can. Those seem like solid takeaways.
They provide a starting point for taking back some control.
Looking ahead then, AI isn't going away. That much seems absolutely clear. But unchecked AI developed without these guardrails, it really shouldn't define our future. It feels like we're standing at a critical crossroads, doesn't it? A tension between automation and autonomy, between achieving massive scale and preserving individual sovereignty, individual privacy. The way AI evolves from here, the choices developers and users make, will fundamentally determine whether it respects our privacy rights or systematically undermines them.
I agree completely. And privacy, in this context, it's more than just a legal right. It's becoming a shared responsibility, one that each of us plays a part in upholding through our choices. The good news is that leading privacy-first AI solutions, like the confidential AI framework from iExec we discussed, are emerging. They offer a secure foundation where developers can integrate powerful AI without inherently compromising user data, and where you, the user, can potentially retain meaningful control over your personal information, even when interacting with complex AI systems. It offers a path forward.
So, in this new age of artificial intelligence, reclaiming our privacy seems to start with the technologies we choose to build, the platforms we decide to trust, and the questions we dare to ask. We'll leave you, our listener, with this thought to mull over. How will your choices, your demands for transparency, your adoption of privacy-preserving tools, how will your actions shape the future of privacy in the age of AI?